Today is a special day because we get to wear our matching t-shirts, Weavy. And that is a moment that I look forward to.
What does that flash symbol represent?
The Flash is a superhero that
Right, he used to say Shazam.
Oh, which is another superhero that has a lightning bolt, but not the same one.
not the same one. The Flash is the fastest man alive, not sexually, but we don't know that.
Fastest man alive.
Which might explain why you can't get a date.
Yeah. Hey!
The Flash is a character that is responsible for a lot of the other characters because he's so fast, Tony, that he can run backwards, right, around the planet, so fast that he can make the planet spin and reverse time. So he can control time. And since today we're talking about time, I feel it will be fitting to be wearing the Flash t-shirts.
Superman did the same thing. He had a big, like a mountain with a big peak, and he could fly around it. And in one part was the future, and another part was the past.
And actually, in the original Superman movie, when Lois Lane gets hurt at the end, he flies around the world and supposedly turns back time a few minutes.
If he had asked the Flash to do that shit for him, it would be much easier. Paradoxically so, I hope that this video is not a complete waste of time for people watching it, since we're talking about time. Right? Yeah,
It's all a waste of time.
It's all a waste of time. That would be a quote for sure right here. It's all a waste of time. Okay. Tony Cutler. I was thinking about talking about Kronos, the god of time, right? Ancient Greece and paganism and whatnot. Time flies when you're having fun. And then you were saying that, but you cannot think of a quote that illustrates the opposite.
However, I think we can all relate to the feeling of time going so slow that it's unbearable. Usually it happens when you're young. Let's say you're at a job you don't like. You want to get out of the job to do something you anticipate and you're looking forward to. And you feel like 4 hours have gone by. And when you look up, it's only been 10 minutes.
Some people, just like the Flash has the superpower to speed up time, right? I guess some people have the uncanny or the supernatural power of making the perception of time seem slower. People who are boring, maybe in the company of someone that just makes it seem like time never passes.
Right, unbearably slow.
Time is really just a perception. There's no real such thing as time. It's a perception, it's an illusion. What it is a bunch of events that are hooked together. And we perceive them as going slower or faster. When it's a happy time, it seems to go faster. There's not time isn't moving. It's our perception of it. You can prove it by saying that things that are drag or boring go slower. Things that are exciting and new and interesting go faster. Nothing's going anywhere. It's all an illusion. It's your perception of how the events are hooked together.
That's interesting. That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
And the thing is that perception is the root of so many issues, right? Because people are so obsessed with the perception of time, just concerned with time, right?
Absolutely. Well, let's look at, how we manipulate time, right? GPS satellites. Everyone's got a cell phone in their pocket, which is faster than a supercomputer in the 70s. We can do so much so fast. There was a time when if you wanted to watch a video, you just have to click and wait a few hours to a few days to download a song or a music video. Now we can do that on our phones in a few seconds. So our technology has fast forwarded everything. How we perceive everything, how we look. Look at Facebook. It used to be that if you wanted to, I think that was the other example. If you were in a relationship and you missed your significant other, 20, 30 years ago, you had to write a letter. You had to get paper, you had to get pen, you had to write out a letter, you had to put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, send it out, wait a few days to a few weeks, depending on where they were at for them to get it, and then wait even more days and weeks to get a response.
Yeah.
Now we can do that in seconds.
And some people watching this right now may say those were the days. I mean, I know I'm one, right? I'd rather, like, if I could Just send a letter, handwritten letter that takes a few days to get there. The anticipation, or like remember, like when you took a photo roll and you took it to the pharmacy to get the
Right.
photos developed, and then you had to wait 3 days, and they usually sucked. They like out of 15 pictures, you had like one that was somewhat decent, right? But the anticipation that you had when you got those pictures, sometimes I wouldn't even open the envelope until I got home to open it with everybody else so they could all see the pictures. Now, if you go through my phone, you have 50,000 pictures. They have tampered with the illusion of time. I agree with Tony, and that's why I refer to time as an illusion. Some people might contend that that's not the case, that we actually have minutes and hours.
It's a way of measuring the events together. This fast technology, I think you agree, is just events that are closer together. You don't have to wait 2 weeks to write a letter and get it off to someone in the mail, and then they have to wait and pick it up.
What will be the first account for the measurement of time would be a sun clock, I imagine, right? And to be quite frank, we are South of proper, so we don't do the research, right? We speak out of our heads. But imagine that the first person who thought, you know what, many years ago, somebody thought, think about this, somebody invented time. Weavy, you know what I noticed?
What?
Just the concept of time, the invention of the concept of time had to set forward so many revolutionary ideas.
Right.
Imagine what it did to people once they knew that there was something called time.
Right. Well, and if you think of let's go even a step back, time probably started with, observing the sun.
Yeah.
Hey, the sun is up for a few, what do we call that? The sun is up, and then the sun comes down, and boom, we had a day.
That's what you
You know,
said. You said earlier when we were talking about this, and like what the heck to talk about. You said in the past people were not as concerned with time.
I'm sure back in the early caveman days, they just measured days. The sun
Right.
comes up, the sun goes down.
Yeah.
Boom, a day.
Yeah, it's right there, done. It's fascinating to me because there's a quote in the States. It's not a quote, it's like a saying, right? People say, I'm killing time. In Spanish, you say, estoy matando tiempo, right? When you're doing nothing. And the idea was like, we don't kill time, but time kills us, right? We are consumed. It's something, life is something that unfolds along the variable of time. Even though Tony and I agree that time is nothing more than a perception, right? Life is a series of events.
The same amount, whatever links you from one event to the other, has nothing to do. When you say you wasted time, it means that you didn't, between point A and B, accomplish what you thought you were going to accomplish. And so people think of it as time was wasted. It wasn't wasted. It was what it was.
Right.
It's a self-imposed goal.
You're making everyone watching feel great about their procrastination.
Yeah, that's right.
So if you're seeking an enabling for your procrastination, follow us.
Fellow procrastinator.
Yeah. I think what the technological advancement, and it's difficult to talk about time without mentioning it. I think what the technological advancement has done is it has reduced the shelf life of experiences. Experiences were lived longer before the advancement in technology. The shelf life of experiences has decreased. The lifespan of a relationship that used to unfold over decades now unfolds over a year with couples.
With
Because
some young people over a week.
over a week with some young people. I'm happy to not be young because I don't want that. I don't want to live in a world where a relationship unfolds over a week. For some things, we should want for time to slow down a little bit. We're not going to go into the whole spiel of if you get off your phones, then you'll have more time and you'll feel that time doesn't move as fast. But it's kind of true. There's no such a thing as time. It's just a perception. It's just a series of events linked to one another. And that when the distance between one event and the other are not happening the way we want it to happen, we say we have wasted time, but really we haven't. There's no such a thing of wasting time.
Oh man, how are we supposed to kill the rest of the afternoon?
You mustn't kill time, boys. You must cherish it. Seize the day. Can I have some change to go get loaded?
Right, because there's no such thing as time. That's why you can't waste it.
Boom. Okay.
Deep.
I love watching Tony laugh. I don't know, it makes me laugh. He has a contagious laughter. We used to do this. We used to do this acting thing, and sometimes he will get off script and start laughing. He couldn't get back. Then I will start laughing when he stopped.
I don't laugh much, so that was a good thing if I did that.
Do you remember that one skit that we used to do at the actor's place where I will play guitar and you will stand next to me and make up religious songs?
No, sure wasn't drinking.
Yeah, I think I have some footage of that. I'll see if I can find it and put it in the channel. Okay. Tony, you were talking also about dwelling, like how people either dwell too much in the past or they waste too much time dreaming in the future, but they miss the present, right? It's dangerous in that it can rob you from your present.
There is only the present moment. So we really shouldn't concern ourselves too much with the past events or what we think might happen in the future.
Right.
Because you're only going to live in the present moment.
Yeah,
You're
even though there is that saying, if you don't remember the past, you're bound to repeat it.
Avoid the perpetuation of a mistake by knowing your past. And the fact is that has not afforded us any certainty because we continue to make the same mistakes that we've been making since we were primal.
That is true.
Knowledge of the past has not prevented us from repeating the same thing over and over and over again. Now, I wrote a poem about time. Do you remember? Tony liked it a lot. He said that it's a poem. So Tony said,
high praise, high praise.
I believe in the concept of time thanks to Facebook, because Facebook once in a while will do something cruel. It will post memories from 5 years ago when your daughter was 7 years old. It's gruesome. So Facebook tends to do that. You were concerned about that, Tony, right? You were saying that you were concerned about how long things take.
I don't know why. There should be no reason to be concerned if you link from one link to the next link and you're thinking about it. What's the difference? What your perception is that it took long, it took 3 minutes, 5 minutes. This is all the illusion. I don't know how I got to be that way because it's not in my belief system.
Well, yeah, just talking about time has led you to reaffirm your belief system. So maybe you needed that. Maybe what you needed desperately was this conversation. To not worry anymore about how long things take.
Well, that's true. Or maybe we're talking more about, I remember during college, we learned about a thing called opportunity time, right? Which it says, if you're doing one thing, it'll take away from doing something else, right? So,
yes.
You know, if you want to watch TV for 3 hours, but then you also wanted to write a book, you know, you can't watch TV and write a book at the same time.
That's why doing this with you guys, what used to be frowned upon. I'm not gonna say names, but used to be frowned upon because the contention was you could be doing something more fruitful.
Right. That was your opportunity. You prefer this was a higher priority, more enjoyable. So you need to mind that.
I used to have a joke with one of my friends where we'd be cruising around looking for girls, pick up girls and things like that. And we said, boy, we're wasting time. We could do something useful like learning the Morse code. Useful.
Yeah.
That was more useful than picking up girls, huh?
Yeah. I think that people sometimes are too obsessed with putting their finger in the needle of time because, for example, like kids wish they were adults. You were saying that, right?
Right. So think about it. When most children, when they're young, they want to be older. They want to be able to have more responsibility. They want to be able to do what they want. They want to grow up. And then, you know, they get to teenagers. Right. And then they get to adulthood and they enjoy their time there. And then once they get to, you know, a little bit older, like me, then we want to turn back time. We want to go back. But we can't.
All perceptions.
Right. Well, it is perceptions, but the interesting part about that is the perception that we want to move that needle. I guess the one thing we can honestly say about time is we have absolutely no control over it. Like you said, Tony, it's gonna happen. We can't pause it. We can't stop it. We can't hold it back in any way. It's just gonna happen. But when we're younger, for some reason, we wish to make it faster. We wish to move into the future. The perception of time that they say slows down, like when you're in a car accident, right? They say things go slow, you're more observant. I guess you in something like an accident or um, a traumatic event, right? They say time slows down. You're more observant of everything around you. You notice more things, and it's like where our brains speed up, and everything seems slow by comparison. So but in the end, it is just another uh, manipulation of our perception.
I think as we get older, a person, an adult, comes to a bifurcation of two paths. One is of wanting to slow and regress time by saying, I wish I could go back to the times when I was a poor old boy dressed like Huckleberry Finn running in the streets of Argentina. Or the person becomes unconsciously suicidal, saying, I cannot wait for time to pass. Cannot wait for this week to be over. You ever heard people say that?
Sure.
But that the illusion of time, or the greater illusion, which is the illusion that you can tamper with the illusion of time so much, dangerous in a way, because it robs you from being present, that life is nothing but present. And so I guess the question is, we know now that romance and other endeavors in which things should unfold slowly can only be ruined by speeding up time, by wanting to precipitate things. It should be done in a slow cooker. But we can take away today with one question, which is, does the management of the perception of time improve or ruin things in your life?
That's a tough one, because it's the great paradox. On the one hand, you can't really change anything. On the other hand, if you manage your time, what we call time, if you manage it wisely, things can turn out better for you.
I think the goal of life could be a constant process of slowing down time enough to live the life that you have been given the time. I think that the direction should be back, not forward. And I do think that there's a certain deal of subconscious insanity in a person saying, I cannot wait for the week to be over. I cannot wait for the day to be over. We should be always seeking to grasp the present, savoring the present.
I saw a documentary on a woman that was in the Holocaust. And she said that while she was in the Holocaust, she learned to live in the present moment. And I thought that was really weird. Why would you want to live in the present moment when you didn't have any food, you had a terrible place to live, you had who knows what horrible conditions you had to undergo. And I thought it was strange. You would think she would only want to think about when things were better in the past or how they might be later if she got out. Right. But no, she actually said that she learned to live in the present moment. I can only imagine that she realized that she was still alive and that she was trying to make the best of it by realizing that she was alive. That's why she was in the present moment. It was interesting that she said that.
Yeah. There is a psychologist named Viktor Frankl. I've been talking about him this week a lot. He wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. If you go to any university, to any psychology department, and you walk into any professor's office, you will see that book. It's one of the most widely sold books in psychotherapy. The first half of the book is an account of his survival of the Holocaust as a child. And the second half is his proposition of a theory of change, centered around the idea that we have to become more aware of the power that we have to make a decision for who we want to be. So it's more along the lines of stoicism, which we talked about in other videos, right? Being stoic, regardless of the circumstances, whether you're bedbound and unable to move, or you are facing every financial distress, or you're in a relationship that is just taking you to the brink and the edge of the abyss, right? Frankl says it doesn't matter. You always have the power to decide who you want to be. And I do think that is valuable because it repositions you in the in the present with a hopeful look into the future. I don't think there's much value in going back. There's great value in looking forward to a good future that will one day be your good present, without getting lost in the future so much that you're taken away from the present. But again, the question becomes, the final points to one thing, which is, does the management of time or the illusion of time improve or make things worse?
I have one interesting thing. I wrote a poem when I was 23 years old, and it has things to do about time in it that I never really gave it much thought. And you'll hear some of the phrases. They're images that I have, and a lot of these images have to do with time. And at 23, didn't think I was concerned with time, but apparently I was to some degree. So let me recite this poem for you.
Music, maestro.
It's called What Night? A night dark and lost, always the thought of the whirling day, counting minutes as seconds swift, riding the moon as a galloping gypsy, never forgetting night's death. A night without the world, we crawl from star to star in upward flight that chokes the hangman too. Deepest thoughts can be written in simplest words. Ghost writes this dismal stain upon the grass that's there to stay. Power that be the shape of tree or flower child from mist, 1,000 babies kidnapped, can express in the unexplained moment the mystery of the eternal night. Who knows if tonight will be the long one? Who knows if cold eternity will melt within the night and the slow day at last is welcome.
Bravo. That's very, very
I
good.
can't write poetry anymore, but I was able to back then.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
But those images of crawling and
all over
working and slow and eat.
the long one.
Yeah.
When you rest in the chest of someone that wants to be with you and you want to be with them equally, time does slow down. The person becomes some type of time machine, huh?
Yeah, well, I think it's because then you're focusing on the present.
I think you forget the present too.
Yeah.
Whether it be your daughter or your partner or someone that you're in tune with.
Or your cat.
Or your cat. I cannot wait to go to Florida and lay on your chest, Weavy.
Got a big chest.
Big chest, big boy. All right.